Hello everyone, it's your host Cyber and welcome to another video. I'm going to be sitting down for this video because my back is incredibly in pain and I can't stand up longer than I want to. Not anymore. I think I've injured my back when I was sleeping at some point and I have no idea how. Um, I don't know, but I wanted to make this video to compare both the OLED and the LCD Steam Deck, and I have two of them with me. In this video, I'm going to show you. I'm going to compare both different versions, and hopefully, it can make you decide either if you want to go for the OLED version or the LCD version. Now, I do want to make a very big note: is that if you're going for the cheap option, which is the LCD version, um, it has been announced that Valve is phasing out the LCD models. So, and once they're all sold out, they're no longer going to be selling the LCD models and only be selling the OLED models. So, if you want something to more long term and you want something that's relevant, I would recommend getting the OLED model if you want to stay irrelevant into the game. LCD models have no issues, but they're just letting you know that if you're that kind of individual who cares about relevancy than the quantity or the quality of the item, the product, then OLED's the game. So let's get started, shall we? So I do apologize if you see a light that's shining into the Steam Decks or at all, because clearly I can't do this in the living room, can't do it in the dining room, so this is the only option. And since it's at night that I'm recording this, it's going to be a very big challenge. So I'm going to, here in this video, I am using my phone because I would use my own camera, personal computer camera, but you know how it is. So I have the two Steam Decks here. I have the LCD version and I have the OLED version. You can definitely immediately tell both. They're both 512 gigabyte model. Actually, this one's a terabyte model. This one's a 512 gigabyte model. It just looks shiny because the light is shining. The light is shining directly on it. So I'm gonna try to adjust that, hopefully, and we can compare to both Steam Decks. Now I'm gonna remove the Steam Decks from their shells, so this way I can immediately bring them into the picture. So here is the LCD, and here is the OLED. Now I have a fan here, which I want to show too, but I'll show that in a bit. So they look similar to each other. The two Steam Decks look similar to each other. You got the OLED and you got the original LCD, and they're both fine. They're both fine. I had actually technically, if I kept my other Steam Deck, I would have technically three, but I sold it because it stopped working and I didn't know what was wrong with it, so I sold it for parts to save up for this bad boy. Now this one is my personal Steam Deck. This is my personal system that I've been using, and I've recently just got it delivered, so I've been loving it. This one has not been modified except the OS with like Decky Loader and stuff like that. But beyond that, this one's also been modified versus hardware and operating system. The only physical difference of this one is that the hardware, like the screen, is not to this Steam Deck. This Steam Deck I've been refurbished. This one, it has a new screen. This one I didn't remove. I replaced the motherboard because the motherboard was broken from a previous Steam Deck that I sold. But this one has also gully kits, so it has gully kits, analog sticks, and that's pretty much the only modifications besides that, and like that's pretty much it. And like a new back casing that is not associated with the serial number. So yeah. The original back shell case, this one, the clips broke, so it like left a little opening in the side, and it was just annoying, and it made the L buttons feel weird. So yeah, so I would consider it a refurbished one. So you can immediately tell the difference between the OLED version is much more significantly better within the Steam Deck, because of how you see the frame bezels are much more smaller, are much more bigger on the LCD version, but on the OLED version, it's much more thinner on from the vertical side to the horizontal side. So the horizontal ones are much more thinner, but the vertical ones are a little bit more thicker, but they're much more thinner than the ones you see on the LCD version. On the OLED version, you get these nice black analog sticks. They're really nice. I really like them. Uh, they're not like the texture as the LCD. Like the LCD's analog sticks are much more graphite. They feel more rough. Unlike the OLED version, they're much more smooth and shiny, and it's a fingerprint magnet. Just FYI. Um, when it comes to saturation of the colors and how colors are presented, the LCD is lacking when it comes to saturation and clarity when it comes to the OLED. This thing looks different on the camera, but you can definitely tell if it focuses. You can definitely can't tell on camera, but right now in my eyes, compared to both, they both look different. When it comes to colors and how bright and sharpened the image is, the OLED version is the better option in this situation when it comes to the Steam Deck LCD. Now, it's both the same. The OLED and the regular LCD has the same operating system. There is no significant difference except that this one has the HDR always enabled, and this one doesn't have HDR, but it does support HDR, but only through external output. And this one can do internal and external output for HDR. Let's see. Let's take a look at on the OLED version on the top where you see the buttons. The buttons look much more of the same thing, but the only difference between this model versus the LCD model is that when you ever charge your Steam Deck on the OLED version, it will indicate that you're charging, but then when it's finished charging, it will indicate as green. Unlike the LCD version, it does not have any indicator at all. Like, it has the same indicator, but once you fully charged, it doesn't show green or anything like that. It's just the same old white. And I wish they did a firmware update that alters that in behavior, but you know, what can you say? The second change that you'll notice is that they changed the L2 and R2 buttons. So unlike the LCD version, they're much more, how you say, looking more bulkier. They kind of look more bulkier a little bit. But compared to both versions, that the OLED version of the Steam Deck has adaptive triggering. I've opened the Steam Deck of the LCD version, not the OLED, and there is no adaptive triggering for the L2 or R2 thing. Like, I can't feel anything at all. But once I do that, once I use this one, I can tell that the motors are doing something, because I was like, at first I noticed a little bit, but I noticed a little bit because it's not that severe. But once I started like pressing them, I could hear the motors doing something. So I don't know if there's a motors inside the triggers, because I haven't opened the Steam Deck at all, because I have no reason to. So because originally when I had my original Steam Deck, I had bought the 512 gigabyte version, LCD version, and I had upgraded their internal storage to a terabyte, which the terabyte for that one is in this one. So my partner has my old 1 terabyte in here, because she also had a 512 gigabyte model. And it was a lot of money. This, like, when I bought mine when it was still relatively new, for like, I think it was like probably a year or two ago. And then I bought hers probably like 2 months after I bought mine. So this one's pretty old too. And I spent like total $1,400 on 2 Steam Decks, and then that's a lot of money. Holy shit. So pretty much I saved up 2 months to buy this one, because when my original broke, I sold that one. I sold a motherboard too, and I was able to save up enough money to buy this one within 2 months. And it was amazing. The next changes that you'll notice is that the XAXYB buttons are completely different on the LCD version, and if you buy the OLED version, you'll notice that they have improved how they look. Instead of being a fully white kind of solid color, they have a more of a grayish transparent colored XAXYB, so they look much more clear. I figured I don't know if that's if there's this elastics are okay. So the D-pads are the same. There's nothing different about them. However, compared to both models, the start and select button feel much more nicer on the OLED than on the LCD models. So LCD models like much more. It's not like it doesn't have much like traction, but here it looked like they took the time into making sure that these feel really good when you press them. The buttons on the OLED model feels really nice. I feel like they've added more press resistance to them, so they feel more. They don't feel like the LCD version where they feel more mushy than they're actually clicky. So like on the OLED version, they still feel mushy, but they also feel more of the clicking, the click feel. On the trackpads, they feel really nice compared to this version, the LCD version. The tactile feedback is phenomenal compared to the LCD, which is still good when it comes to using the capacitive touch whenever you're on the desktop. But overall, they improved the tactile feedback when I'm using the trackpads, especially when you press down on them. They feel really nice compared to the LCD where I have to there was a little bit more resistance that I had to press in order to press them, and it was fine. Now let's talk about audio. Audio compared to both Steam Decks are pretty phenomenal. However, the Steam Deck on this version, the OLED, the audio is much more higher in quality than the LCD model. I played with both. The audio is great, but compared to the LCD, the OLED has better audio. The only thing that I am actually experiencing with the OLED that I didn't experience with the LCD model is whenever I start moving around, I'll hear this kind of how would I call it, ambient noise whenever I move around. Not like the ambient noise of the sounds of going through the UI sound, but sounds that is coming from the UI as after when you hear the UI, and it's just, I think that something's wrong with the audio. I don't know specifically if that's tailored just to because of the quality of the speakers, or simply because that is a bug. I have no idea. The bottom is still remaining the same. You still have the SD card slot, same as the LCD version. However, I did notice one thing is that compared to the LCD model and the OLED model is much more slimmer and has a much more comfortable design versus the LCD model, which it does not have. It has that concave, but not like this kind of concave. The weight is the OLED is much more lighter than the LCD model. I really enjoyed that this is much more lighter than this one because this is a fan. I also have a battery attachment for a Steam Deck 2, which I'm gonna have to find that battery attachment so I can increase the battery for this thing. But what this one does is cool down my Steam Deck while if I'm trying to download a game or something and I need more oomph. But I haven't really used this as much, but it's a great stand whenever I want to watch a movie while I cook or something. But sorry if you see the background mess. It's been quite a week. Let's see. So in the original LCD model, you'll get the USB Type C. You'll get your LED. You get a black button on the OLED. You have an orange one. You still have the same layout as the volume rocker. The vent placement is still the same. On the back of the Steam Decks, you'll notice that the colors of the Steam Decks are a little bit different. They're the same and similar, but you can definitely tell that this one is a little bit more black than the other one. And I don't know why, but it just feels that way. When I felt it, it's like it felt really different than the LCD model. So, Besides that, the software is pretty much the same. There's no difference between software except some extra features that your OLED can do, such as if you go to display, you can go down, scroll down, and there should be extra options, I believe, that you weren't able. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really looked at them. Um, but there's other options you can do for in the Steam Deck in the OLED version. I can't go the full detail because I haven't really discovered a lot of the options customizations. However, I did notice in the customization, whenever you head into your thing, you purchase this model, you'll get a new OLED movie screen you can buy. You can get, and you also if you go to your keyboard, you also get this nice. You can purchase this nice or use this nice OLED keyboard that looks like this, and that is a banger. I mean, personally, I like the Steam default one better than the OLED one, simply because that has some more customization options on using the CSS loader, which I use. With both the Steam Decks, let's go to power. With both Steam Decks, the LCD model can only go to 60 hertz, but I have a mod on this one which gives up to 70 hertz. Now there is a problem with the screenshots. Whenever you take a screenshot, it will turn black screen for a moment and then go back to normal. But this one, the OLED version, has a 90 hertz refresh rate, so it can go to 90 FPS, so you can get a better experience. I've played games on this on 80 FPS, and it feels amazing, even though my main computer can go up to 170 hertz. This is a banger for the buck. It still has the same options as you can see, same options as you can see from the original version of the LCD. But beyond that, that's pretty much the same. What else have not been covered? Beyond that, actually, I've covered everything except. Let's put these to the side. Let's talk about the cases. Now, when you buy the LCD model, 512 gigabyte model, you will get a one version where you have a blue and you have like the logo for the Steam Deck, which is blue. If you get the other models, you'll get a different one, but this one's the 512 gigabyte model one, so this one comes with a blue kind of thing, and this is the OLED version of that same one. The only difference between two cases is that one looks better than the other. So let's see. When you get the 512 gigabyte model, I'm gonna turn off this Steam Deck so I can put it in there. And you originally will get some models. Well, you'll have like a little thing where you can lift up the Steam Deck without having to use your hand and dig it in there. Some models didn't. The one previous cover did not have this little strand, so that kind of sucked. And you get this nice leather you kind of get this nice fabric, and it feels really nice to touch. But what makes the OLED version much more different is this one will make this one look like shit. It's 100%. This one will make look like shit. So when you first get your Steam Deck OLED, you'll see that unlike the original, this one doesn't have like a flap on the front. Just have a zipper, boom, bada boom, bada boom. But this one has, I have no idea why they did this. Has this right here. So, and I think this is just for keep it from falling apart if, for example, these failed. And this fabric feels much more better. It's much more smoother. It's much more blacker. It reminds me of like they use wool, like black wool on this, and it just feels really nice. It doesn't have the strap, unfortunately, which I wish they did put the strap in there because it would have been really nice. I'm also going to turn off my Steam Deck. And it fits in there like a really nice glue. Now, the thing I liked about this one is much more efficient is because they took so much time that it fits really, really nice, and it fits as if it belonged in this case. Now, I do want to say there's one thing between both Steam Decks last thing before I end this video is that both of these sim decks have the same software. That's no doubt. Each one has different software, but they're both exactly the same. The only difference is that the hardware is much more advanced on the OLED version than the regular version. So even if you get the LCD version, you're not really missing out on a lot. The only thing you're missing out is that new analog sticks, new buttons, new haptic feedback, a new good looking screen, and you get Wi-Fi 6 on this model versus Wi-Fi 5 on this model. This model will not support Wi-Fi 6 or nor WPA3. I've seen trying WPA3 and it just disconnects it. This one works way more efficient, so if you're looking for a high reliable internet connection, the OLED is the way to go. The LCD model does its job for what it's for, but it's not the best. And if you want the most bang for your buck, I would highly recommend going for the OLED model than the LCD model. The only difference between both is that the LCD model has more support for modifying it than the OLED version, but on the other stance, they both work. All the mods are most cross-compatible, so you're not really missing out much. Except the refresh rate unlocker, you don't need the refresh rate unlocker for this model versus this model. You can do that. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments, and I'll gladly answer them whenever I can. But thank you guys for watching, and I hope you're understanding of how the format of this video came out. See you guys later, and have a great one.